All right. Welcome to my post gym analysis of today. So, yesterday and the day before, because technically we are now Saturday, we're still Friday in California, but Thursday and Friday were really interesting because as we had this huge dip on Wednesday, yeah, on Thursday we kept dipping, but then I mentioned it more on the Cardano chart, but let's look at Bitcoin. What happened was that we were still within range. So you remember you want to look for the candle close when you assume there's a breakout or there's reversal. We were still here within range, so that was fine. And then yesterday we had this huge dip where Bitcoin went all the way to 92 and it flushed a lot of leverage. Obviously, a lot of people got liquidated. I think over $1 billion were liquidated yesterday. But what you need to understand is that if I look at the ADA chart, so you need to understand that this was the bottom of our range, and even though the bottom of our range was at 87 cents, yesterday we dipped all the way to 76. Okay? We dipped all the way to 76. But then, in the morning, Pacific time, we just went back and pushed really hard and closed at 95. So this is all just a false breakout here. We are still within range. Okay? So I don't care how deep the dip is or how deep the wick is. You want to look at the candle close. The candle close was here, which was within range, and it was also here yesterday, the day before, which was also within range. So what? It means we are still within range. There is no reversal. Obviously, the main issue here was that you had to make sure you are not liquidated. So you had to make sure that you want to add more money to your position so that your liquidation price will be lower so that you don't get liquidated by this wick. Now you might say, "Oh, why don't I just exit my position and or put a stop loss?" You could have done that, but it is something you would have done earlier when it first started showing weakness 2 days before. If you look at the 4-hour chart here, look when we started showing weakness. It was clear from here that you needed to exit. You didn't have to exit here. You could have waited for the bounce. So remember, when there's a dip, you exit on the bounce. And you have gotten out here because it was still showing weakness. Okay? If you stayed in your long, you might tell me, why would I stay? Because we're in a bull market, right? So maybe you already lost a lot of money. And then you thought, okay, it's not worth exiting. So we're in a bull market. It's gonna go up eventually. So you have to make sure you don't get liquidated. So you have to broaden in more collateral so that your liquidation price goes lower. So this applies to all alts. Okay. And the easiest way to keep following that, obviously, you had to stay on the computer to know how low the price was going to go, and you had to make sure, obviously, from before that you weren't using a lot of leverage. Remember that you don't want to use a lot of leverage at the top of the range. Okay, so you had to make sure you don't get liquidated. So while you are making sure of that, you have to follow Bitcoin price, the price of Bitcoin. Why? Because it was Bitcoin that was dragging everything yesterday. It was dragging everything with it during this week. Okay, it went all the way to 92, but all of the alts got beaten up so heavily. Okay. But what's interesting is that if you look at the 15-minute chart, you'll notice that this dip was really weird because usually those type of dips, they are leverage flushes. So as price goes down, it just one wick even on a very small time frame, even maybe at the 1 minute chart. But what happened here is that it went down and closed with a small wick, so it was uh, Okay, candle bought it, and then we had a fully engulfing candle here that literally pushed price out directly from 92 to 93, and this is where the rally started. If you look at the ADA chart, that's also what happened here. Look, we did not have like one of those giant wicks that appear when there's a big dip, like here, for example. On the smaller time frames, they will still appear, but here that we did not see that. So it was quite interesting because those type of V reversals almost never show up. When you first learn price action, you know that you learn that you have some consolidation, price going sideways before it reverses on the other side. This is not what happened. It just went down then up. It was quite interesting because this you almost never see it, this V shape. Okay, the last time we saw it was probably when the Silicon Valley bank had its bankruptcy. So price went down quickly, but then the Fed said, okay, we're going to print as much money as we want. Therefore, price just reverted back other in the other direction. Okay? So it was quite interesting. I think it's, if you look at the time, it started around 4 a.m. Okay, Pacific time, which is 7 a.m. Eastern time. I'm not sure, but maybe it's because people woke up, they saw a discount on the Bitcoin's price, and then price pushed up. So in the bull market, this happens when some dip happens outside working hours. So at night or in the weekends, it's United States time. When people wake up, price goes up because they think they got a good price. With the bear market, it's the opposite. When price goes up a little bit during outside working hours, when working hours come, so let's say Monday morning, okay, people start to sell. So keep that in mind. This is important. I think it's more relevant in the bear market because the bear market starts when people still think that there's a big hype. They're still in denial that the bear market has started. They're still in the bull market euphoria. So what happens is that they they take advantage of low volume on the weekend, for example, and they notice that, oh, price is going up, so they get in. But then once the smart money wakes up on Monday, they just sell and they dump their profits on the dump money. Okay, so yeah, this was really interesting. Like you rarely ever see something like that. You'll notice that the 15-minute bands turned green really quickly. We had a huge bump, so within 1 hour we went from 76 to 83. So and then we got back into range. Okay, so it was really really interesting to see this. So you had to make sure you don't get liquidated, you don't sell prematurely, because again, you want to look at confirmation when reversal happens. And even if reversal ends up happening, we're in the bull market, right? You don't want to risk selling here, especially now. We're towards the last year probably of the bull market, 2025. You need to be accumulating as much coins as possible, obviously depending on which ones you think will outperform, right? So it's up to you to decide, but you need to accumulate now because next year it's just you need to start thinking on when do you want to get out. You have to be careful, okay? So you still have this couple of weeks to make important decisions. I wanted to talk about the reversal. So remember, Bitcoin was the one dragging all this hype. So if you wanted to understand what was happening, if you were at night, like I was, a little worried, maybe price goes down even more, so you have to make decisions. You want to just follow here what Bitcoin was doing. Because Bitcoin was dragging price alts down, and then it was dragging price for the alts up. It was that simple. Nothing was breaking out. I feel that we're just now in a quiet phase before things start going crazy later. And like I mentioned yesterday, we still didn't have alt season. So when the reversal happened here and Bitcoin started pushing out, alts started going really crazy. So ADA did today like 30%. So around a little less than 30, probably 25%. So it was crazy. So this is all within the same day, right? So it dipped all the way to 76, then it pushed all the way to 95. So again, we went back into range. We are still within range. So it's that simple. You want to wait for confirmation. The confirmation is when the candle closed, it's outside the range, and you have to make sure it's outside enough so that it's not a false breakout where price is just gonna end up going back in later. But it got back in within the same candle, so it's indeed a false breakout, and we are still within range. I want to talk about the funding rate. So let's go back to the let's say the 1 hour chart. So it was obvious that we had reversal because price broke market structure on the 1 hour 5 hours later, so in the morning, and on the 15-minute chart, as I mentioned, it only did it like within 1 hour, so around here. It broke market structure. So you notice there was a small resistance here, pull back, pushed into it, retest, small retest here. It's not a big retest. It's not exact retest, and it's less than half a cent. So we did have a small retest here, and then we started rallying up. So we didn't have all the signs that tell us that we're reversing. Okay, and what's interesting is that while we were reversing, the funding rate was still negative. So there was a lot of shorts trying to do something here. A lot of people were still shorting that. That was an issue, okay? Because when the funding rate is negative, the shorts have to pay the longs for the position while the position is still happening every 8 hours, okay? So it wasn't negative in all interfaces, but the fact that it was negative somewhere tells you that there are still people shorting, okay? Keep that in mind. And once this... So as price goes out, some of the shorts are going to get squeezed, right? So they get liquidated. And even if they don't get squeezed, some of them will just close their short because price is going out. I need to take profit somewhere, okay? The reason all this variability happens is because people take profit. Remember that. So as price was going up with a negative funding rate, so shorts have to pay the long. So if you had a long, you were getting paid every 8 hours. So you were incentivized to go long. And still, people were still shorting, or they kept their position. So let's let the short squeezes. Obviously, at the end, I noticed that as we were getting towards the daily close, that more shorts started closing, because the time you have to, one of the times you have to pay the funding rate is on the daily open or the daily close. So as we got closer to the daily close, a lot of shorts were closing. So the funding rate was going close to neutral, to zero. So I noticed that they were waiting, checking what the vibe is going to be. They were looking probably at the daily chart here. Right? And yeah, it kept pushing. So you'll notice that I went all the way, sorry, to 96. Okay? So we have a reversal here. I know it's a V reversal, which is not common, but it's all signs point to reversal. If you look at the 4-hour bands, they are still red, but we're getting close. The 1-hour one is obviously green. It's bullish. The 15-minute one is bullish. We are bullish. Okay, so on the lower time frames we are bullish. On the daily, we are bullish because we are at support. Okay, with a strong green candle. And it's quite interesting how I want to talk a little bit about how the weekend might play here. Okay? Because, again, the weekend is where you have small volume. So if you have some money, it could be an opportunity for you to get in the weekend. Because I think the next week, starting Monday, we're probably going to rally up because we are at support. Okay? We are getting close to the end of the year, and I feel that next week, obviously in the stock market, we have something called the Santa Claus rally, but it's not because of that I think we're going to go up. I think we're going to go up because we simply went down for very stupid reasons. Okay? I talked about it yesterday. I'm going to talk about it again. This whole dip that maybe that's why it led to a V reversal, because it was a stupid reason for dipping. The dip happened because Powell said that the government, the Fed, cannot own Bitcoin. And I mentioned that, okay, this can change anytime. It takes one decision to change that. So this whole dip was just illogical. But again, the market does weird stuff all the time. So because it was illogical, it just didn't last long. Okay? Bitcoin is strong. Michael Saylor bought this week on at 100K. So this means that he thinks that 100K is a good price to get in. And this is what happened. Once we reached 92 on the Bitcoin chart, we pushed back up. We got the V reversal I was talking about. So this weird reason for dipping is also the reason we bounced back really quickly, because it was just a stupid reason. I think, again, when you want to make a decision, you have to think how people will react. So maybe the smart money noticed that some people might be afraid because of what Powell said. So they decided to push price down by making shorts or by selling, because they knew some people would react. This obviously led to the big leverage flush, but now we're back. Okay, it's just buying Bitcoin at 92 was just a bargain. Okay, because as Michael Saylor mentioned, we're eventually going 20 years from now. Maybe in a few years we're going probably to $1 million Bitcoin. But yeah, so when it comes to the people who are still shorting here, you do not want to fight the bull market. Okay, it's just we're in a bull market. I would avoid that you fight that. Okay, so do I have a question here? No. Okay, so actually let me check quickly whether I have a question, and then I'll continue the. Okay, no questions. Okay, back here. So what I want to talk about is, yes, if you want to do shorts, I'm not saying you should not short because we're in a bull market. You can do it, but if you're day trading, so if your system tells you that you can short here, okay? But if you're swing trading, position trading, if you're on a higher time frame, don't fight the bull market, okay? It's that simple. You do not want to fight the bull market, okay? I want to talk about the weekend more. So if you look here, so I'm saying the weekend is going to be a good opportunity to buy, because that's what I'm planning to do. I'm planning to get in sometime in the weekend. So when you want to get in with these things, you want to wait for a pullback, okay? But so far, we do not have any. I mean, it's obvious we have. We've been the open has been here for like around 4 hours, okay? 4 hours only, but we still have a very small volume. We have less than, that's on Binance anyway. So, but you have to look at all of them. Anyways, we have less than 1 million ADA traded. But what you want to know is that because we have low volume on the weekend, usually in the bull market you have a small pullback because there's just a lack of demand. Okay, people are out there on vacation doing. They're not trading, they're not on the computers, they're just outside. So it might be a good opportunity to get in sometime in the weekend. If the weekend stays green and it kept pushing up, that's bullish. Okay, that's really bullish. Because if with a small amount of volume we kept pushing up, then Monday is just probably gonna be really crazy, especially when we're at support. So keep that in mind. Okay, it's gonna be really bullish. So, but I'm waiting to check on the weekend, see if we have a small pullback for me to get in, because so far we are just bullish. As I mentioned, the hourly chart, the hourly bands are green, the 15-minute band is green. When the daily close happened, we did not have a lot of movement here. Okay, it just went small on 93.6, okay, 93.7. So it's not gonna, like, if the pullback happens again, because it's small volume, it's not gonna last long. So I'm aiming sometime for Saturday night, Pacific time, I think, because that's what happened the last weekend when here. So we dipped on Saturday night and then pushed up on Sunday. Okay. Obviously, we ended up going down, but and it's just one example. But if you look at all these green cases, all the green candles where a bottom was formed, look, the bottom was formed with a huge wick here. It was green. It kept pushing up for a few days. A bottom was formed here with a green candle, green closing candle. It kept pushing up for another 2 days. So it's good so far that when you have a dip, people are buying it. It's that simple. Look, it's happened here, it's happened here, it's happened here, and it seems that it's gonna happen here. We're just gonna push up. So again, as when we're pushing up, you have to wait for a small dip and then you can get in. And yeah, it seems that tomorrow is a good opportunity to get in on the way for next week. Charles Hoskinson's non-disclosure agreement. I think he said like 5 weeks ago that he's gonna be able to talk about it 4 to 8 weeks when he went to SpaceX. We'll see if he'll able to talk about it before the end of the year. I'm we'll see. Yeah, I'm just waiting for it to just buy more. I think that will be my last getting in before the end of the year, and we'll see how that goes. What else do I want to talk about? Any questions? Let me check. Let me check if there's any questions here. So, any questions in the chat? No questions in the chat. No questions? I see there's 3 viewers. Any of you have any question? Just put it in the chat. I have the chat open right now in front of me. Otherwise, I want to also talk about whether you want to get into Bitcoin maybe instead of Cardano if you don't want to take an extra risk. But yeah, and no questions. Let me check my LinkedIn. Yeah, no one spoke. None of you have any questions? You're just listening? Okay. Yeah, sure, no problem. So, what did I talk about? Talk about the funding rate. Do not fight the bull market. BDC dragging. We have support. We have. Okay, I talked about the shorts getting squeezed. I talked about the veer reversal. And okay, let me just now finish with like how much leverage or whether you want to do spot or leverage or what exactly you want to do. Okay, so look at the chart. Let me open the chart again. So the whole idea is that we dipped right now, right? And you want to put money in, okay? I mean, again, you do not want to use a lot of leverage because you don't know what can happen. You can always try to buy Bitcoin with leverage. Or, so we're waiting for a dip, right? If the dip doesn't come, then you can either buy, because ideally you want to like buy in before Monday. Because, again, Monday is the weekly open, so more money's getting in. So you want if you wanna if you feel the dip doesn't come on Saturday, then what you can do is that you can just buy spot Bitcoin. Bitcoin's at 97.5 now. So if you use 10x leverage, you will only get liquidated if it goes all the way to whatever 89. Okay, so obviously there's still risk. I'm just throwing random numbers. Okay, so you want to assess your risk. Is Bitcoin gonna go down that much? Okay, so you can either use some leverage with Bitcoin. You can just buy spot Bitcoin. It's the safest bet you can make, or just get into Cardano with spot. And once the dip happens, you can switch from spot with leverage. Okay, does that make sense? Right? Okay. We're still at support here, and there was one more topic I wanted to talk about, but I kind of forgot what it was. It was something about next week. Oh my God. Yes, this is it. Retail salaries. I can't believe I almost forgot that. So let's talk about that a little bit. So this doesn't really need a chart right now, but let me just talk about that for a second. Next week, okay, people are getting paid. Okay, people are gonna start getting paid, and most of them will get paid before Christmas, because it's the end of the month, and usually before holidays is when people get paid, when there are big holidays. Okay, this is gonna increase the demand on altcoins, on Bitcoin. This is why we expect that next week is going to be really bullish, because it's the end of the month. People are getting paid. We're gonna have money flowing in. Okay, so this is why I'm saying that if you want to get allocated, at least that's what I'm doing. I'm getting allocated at in the weekend, so that we are ready before the next week's huge demand coming from the salaries. People are getting paid. Okay, retail is getting paid, so yeah, you just want to get in tomorrow. That's what I'm gonna do. At least, obviously, nothing I say is financial advice. But Cardano right now is at it's strong at 95. So I don't know if a dip is gonna happen tomorrow. That's why it's going to be a little tricky whether I'm gonna use leverage or spot or whether I'm just gonna put into Bitcoin. I don't know, because maybe the dip doesn't happen tomorrow. Maybe we still have small volume, but it just doesn't dip. But if it doesn't dip, that's a sign of strength. Okay, so which is good, right? Because it just pushes price up because the coin is doing well. But obviously, everyone wants a better entry point. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that will play out. Any, yeah, I think that was a very important part of the analysis. So keep that in mind. People are getting paid next week, so expect a rally. We are at support now. Again, let me open the chart. We are at support here. Okay, this is our support. We're still at support. We have a V reversal. We have a bullish hourly chart. Okay, we have a bullish 15-minute chart. The 4-hour chart is trying to be bullish. We have to wait a little bit. Okay, so we have support here. Okay, you'll notice that this dip, that fully engulfing dip, got retraced all the way back in just 4 hours. It just went all the way back. So this is all bullish. So 95 is not. It's getting really hard for 95 to be broken down. And if you look at the hourly, you'll notice that here we have a lot of resistance because of what's happening here, because of this line. Okay, this line is resistance. So once we break this on the hourly, that's gonna be bullish. The next target is going to be $1.05. So yeah, I'm just waiting. We're gonna see how tomorrow plays out. You might want to set up some alerts. You might want to just keep your eye on the price if you're a Cardano investor. If you're planning to put in some money last minute, tomorrow is the time. Because once next week happen, we have probably a bullish Monday. We have people getting paid around 24, 25. Um, yeah, let me check the Bitcoin ETFs whether they were all posted. Not yet. I'm still waiting on the BlackRock one. So we finally had 2 days of, not actually one day. We still don't know because BlackRock always surprises us. But we finally had one day of red after weeks of uh, having inflows. So this was a real opportunity to buy. You'll notice that if you bought in here, you're at 25-30% profit. Okay, and one last thing now I remember I also want to talk about it is retest. So the whole idea of retest is that there's a lot of, we can spend obviously hours talking about retest, but I want to talk about what's happening here. Usually when we have a big dip, so this was a big dip, okay, on Monday, December 9th. When you have a big dip, the bottom is retested later. Why? Because people who bought in the dip here took profit somewhere, which would bring the price back here. So one question, even though we kind of answered it, but you never know. Is that the retest of this? Okay. Is that dip that happened yesterday the retest of this, which means that it's a double bottom and we are done? We're going up. It really could be. And I hope so, because otherwise, if the retest concept holds here, if this is not the retest of this, this means that this is like a new bottom. So this will have a retest later here, somewhere here, whatever. Okay. Will that happen? I don't know. So far, we have no sign at all of price going down. It just literally on the 4 hour. Look again on the 4 hour. It just literally retraced back all the way here, back into range. Down, up, like fully engulfing. So reversal is here. So yeah, this could be the retest of the previous bottom, which means that it's a strong support that, yeah, that could be. So don't wait. So what I'm saying is that you might not have a retest, so don't wait for it. So just get in, right? As I mentioned, tomorrow is the day to get in. So, and again, nothing I say is financial advice, but that's my opinion. That's my analysis. Let me check if there's any question in the chat. No questions in the chat. Okay. And no questions on LinkedIn. Okay, I guess that's it. I'll make a yearly review at the end of the year, sometime in 10 days. I'll analyze the whole year and what we expect for next year. And yeah, that's it. Y'all have a happy holidays. See y'all soon. Okay? Bye bye.